That's James's meal with some Earl Grey tea and some fruit. And there's cucumbers in here sliced up for that. I don't know if he wants it.
In both of those containers?
No,
What's in that bottle?
Hummus to dip it in.
Oh, hummus.
So I'm only talking about the Escape Artist. I just brought those out because I haven't returned them yet. So I was going to show you where the Escape Artist ranked in the stack. Do you see what I'm saying?
So these are the other ones you reviewed yesterday then?
Yeah.
I think I recognize that top one.
Yeah.
I don't know how because that cover's pretty nondescript. Is that the one with Ben, what is his name?
Yeah.
Benifer, what was his?
Affleck.
Ben Affleck.
Yeah. So anyway, I slice up things for James to eat when he wants to. So I don't know if you want the pine nut hummus
I won't
with
be
that
eating
now.
it now.
Okay.
That'll be
Then
for snacking and stuff like that.
I'll put that
But
away.
this actually, Pauline said, here's James' meal. This is actually 2 meals, but maybe even more. But it's awesome.
Yeah, it's a pretty good one.
It's healthy.
All I did is I baked potatoes. It's always good to bake a lot of potatoes at the same time because
they store well.
They store well that way, and then it's instant food. So James and I don't cook with a microwave.
It's been a long time.
And it was tough to get used to. Because, I mean, the baked potato setting on the microwave, wow, that's easy, right? But
I could even use it in the microwave. I'm a lousy cook.
But it's really just as easy to just bake a whole bunch, an oven full of potatoes. And then, I mean, I just cubed them up and stuck them in the pan with some mushrooms sliced up and green onion and some other stuff. I put cheese and garlic. Anyway, and then I just let that cook down and then put some parsley on top of it. And I'd already had the yam cooked too.
Yeah, so that's
from the oven.
Served cold.
Yeah.
The rest is
hot.
Warm.
Yeah. I didn't bother because I didn't want to mix the yam in. I could have, but yam's a little bit mushier, and so I...
Doesn't bother me. I even like cold potatoes well enough. Yeah. And yams, of course, are very special. They're tasty and a good source of energy too, carbohydrates, right?
Yeah.
I think they're got other goodies in them. So.
There's something in my cup.
And they look very good, you know, like on a plate here. We've got some greenery and some orangery and all that sort of stuff.
So,
did you met? Yeah.
Huh?
Awesome grapes.
Yeah, so
you know,
great.
I'm going to say, we're encouraging people.
I spent almost $40 on grapes because the black grapes, they were on for $2.99 a pound, which that's the same price as the green and the red ones, and black ones are so much better.
These are close to the best grapes I've ever had.
Yeah.
They taste almost as strong as concentrated Welch's grape juice, but not quite as strong, but really, really delicious and strong.
And my favorite tea is Earl Grey tea, and it might give me a headache. Oh. But I'm just having 1 cup, and I will resist having more. So I got this, aside from getting the produce deals that I can get from Superstore, whatever I can get there, then this time of year before the garden is grown, then I go to Shoppers Drug Mart for the clearance discounts, and I got this silk half and half. It's oat and coconut, so it's quite fatty and lovely. Lovely in the Earl Grey. So I shouldn't have much, but I know that I can't have much anyway, because it might give me a migraine.
Which is, from the way Pauline describes it, not like a headache. I wouldn't even know what a migraine is like.
It's so horrible.
Because you can have multi-day bouts of it, right?
Yeah. It's
incapacitating.
Exactly. I can't do anything. I can't. It's terrible when I get it. But it's been a long time since I've had Earl Grey tea, and I really do love it. And I'm thinking 1 cup, maybe I can get away with it. You know, I just won't have any for the rest of the week or whatever.
Yeah, we were talking about walking tomorrow, but I'm kind of scrubbing it off the list tentatively.
Yeah, we saw our first pelican of the season today.
Wow.
And you know, I should have known they were here because I noticed when we went to on a walk earlier in the week, I heard a lot of the birds that they're only here in the summer. That they come, you know, well, they come in the spring and they go,
Yep.
right? So now what would a meadowlark? I heard a meadowlark.
There we go. I didn't hear that one, bro.
Yeah. And what else? Oh, and even before then, we saw red-winged blackbirds and stuff. That's nice.
Well, I heard one.
So
I
there's-
don't, yeah, and
yeah,
I
we
have
saw.
seen at least one.
Yeah, we saw that one at Elizabeth Hall.
Well, that's,
Yeah. So anyway, so the birds are back. So get out and experience
enjoy.
nature because it's wonderful. So I think that I have talked about the escape artist in the past, and I didn't care for this. It's basically like a British Law and Order without the police side of things.
Okay.
So it's just the law, and honestly, I
Yeah,
have
and
a
you
hard
don't
time.
like that part of Law and Order. That's the one I kind of.
Yeah, he likes the law side of
I've
things.
just
more.
seen so
I do
many
not.
cop shows that it's a little bit of a change of pace, even though it's been going for, what, 20 years?
I mean, Law and Order is great for couples that are, you know, a little bit different that way. Like I prefer the police side of it, and he prefers the lawyer side of it. But you know, we like sitting down watching a show. But this is, anyway, it's I guess it's considered a mystery. It's about a murderer who is defended by a lawyer, and then bad things happen. And
To the lawyer?
well,
you don't
yes,
want to give
and to his.
Sounds like Charlie Manson.
I don't want to say, right? So just in case you want to watch it, but you notice I didn't put it very high in the stack. I didn't care for it. I found it quite boring, even though I like David Tennant as an actor and stuff like that. But maybe just as Doctor Who for the, you know,
Yeah,
I
didn't
can't.
recognize that's in
I've
there.
watched him in other things, and I don't know if I've really rated him so highly in other things. So maybe we'll see.
Some people are kind of like one role wonders, kind of like.
Yeah, I know, but he's so
they-
perfect
you
for
know,
that.
Like Sean Connery, James Bond, kind of like, or Roger
Yeah,
Moore,
and
James
he's good
Bond.
for that. Yeah.
Not much good for much else.
But anyway, so you know, I don't know. I guess this might be for people who they really want to believe that there's justice in the world and whatever. And
Well, I think those days are past.
yeah,
The English and Americans kind of helped guarantee that relative justice. But I'm afraid we're taken over by some real. And now the Americans under Trump, they can't be counted for anything. Russians can't. The People's Republic of China can't. Modi in India can't.
yes, it's an interesting time,
It's
isn't it?
appalling.
Yeah. So, and Canadians, but could we ever really be
Well,
counted
there's
on?
Pierre
We're just-
Poilievre.
we're-
Well, I mean, we're so small.
Everybody in the world loves Canadians. I guess they tell American travelers to put a Canadian flag on their backpack so that people will like them more when they're traveling.
Although-
but who doesn't like Canadians? I mean, we're
Americans
such pushovers.
now.
We give away all of our natural resources.
give
Just
them away
give
to
it away.
American companies.
And yeah,
Despite
well,
that,
not
you know,
just
like,
American companies. Not
which
just.
other ones? Yeah, you're right. Chinese companies.
Give it to the world. And
But I was going to mention, right after Trump started trumpeting about Canada ripping off the United States.
yeah, it's like, whoa, what are you talking about, man?
About the first hockey game they had in the United States, Nashville, of course. Thank you, Southern United States. They were booing our Canadian national anthem, you know.
Yeah, and what's that about? I mean,
It's not great music, but it's not that bad.
yeah. But honestly, I really hope that Carney gets elected.
Oh,
Although
please.
my
Majority
angels say
government,
that
please.
Poilievre is going to get elected.
Oh, man.
So they say that you can change it if you talk about politics. That's the thing. But I don't know how that can be because not very many people watch our things, so I don't know how that will happen. But I have faith that things will work out one way or another.
Yeah. Well, maybe Juggernaut Singh is watching. Juggernaut, stop attacking Carney, you stupid.
Yeah, what a moron. And honestly, anybody who's still voting for the NDP party, sorry, you're morons.
You're just splitting
Please stop.
the left vote. You've been doing it for decades. I supported you and supported you and supported you. I started turning away from you idiots when Jack Layton figured he was going to take over, ruin the Liberal Party.
Yeah, what an idiot.
And then his fellow NDPers would go and take over the centre. There's no way they were going to do that, but he came close to ruining the Liberal Party. So here they've got the same percentage of support, and all the Conservatives just took over the middle. And the result? 9 years or so of Stephen Harper. Thank you, Jack Layton. You're roasting down in hell, I can guarantee you, for the role you played in betraying working class people in particular, but
and
also
now Singh is doing the
people.
same thing. He's following in Layton's footsteps.
Yeah.
It's like, oh, Singh, were you not aware of politics back when Layton was doing this same
idiot.
thing? Like, what a moron.
Attacking Carney.
Yeah.
You know, I don't care if you lost votes to the Liberals. You cannot have Pierre Poilievre in Canada.
Yeah. Or
in
basically, we're just going to follow, economically, we're going to follow Trump taking the United States down the toilet. We're going to follow them right down the toilet if you vote in Poilievre. So, boy. Anyway,
so
I don't like to think about politics.
Juggernaut Singh. I don't like thinking about it. I don't like talking about it. Someone's got to do it because there's all sorts of crazy on the right and the so-called left wing. You guys aren't left-wingers if you support the NDP. I'm sorry. You don't support working class people.
Yeah. Anyway, I guess James didn't like Girl Gone that I put on top of the stack yesterday, so I will mention that. He just didn't find it believable at all. It is a very long movie.
Holy smokes, did it sound bad in the background?
Careful. So I'll mention that. I found it entertaining. James did not, which is weird because it's a movie that's pro cheating husband, honestly, in this.
Well, maybe that's one of the things I didn't like about it. But
maybe that is, yeah. But it's just that the wife was, crazy.
Yeah, that's another thing. It's kind of the Glenn Close
Homicidal.
thing. Fatal Attraction, someone said.
And
what's the problem with that movie? There are the occasional stalkerish women, but the vast majority of stalkerish people in relationships are men.
yeah, so I know that people want to make these movies that say, oh look, there's bad women out there too, or whatever, but it doesn't feel authentic a lot of the time when they make them, because women would resort to things more like what this guy resorted to. I had a hard time believing a lot of what happened at the end of this, and I guess James did too, and that just tainted the whole thing for him. Well, he didn't like it anyway. So, anyway.
It's a similar sort of thing like with British cop shows.
Yeah.
That's one of the things I liked about that cop show, where the
Midsummer Murders?
Yeah, the two cops were guys. Do I appreciate cops being guys? Not really. I preferred the women cops at the cop shop when I worked there, but there was maybe 6 out of 100, 6%. And none of them were in positions of authority. Yeah. So,
And honestly,
give me
maybe
a
they
taste of
shouldn't
reality
be.
or something like that.
I don't know.
I don't know.
Like, anyway.
To get in a position of authority, they've kind of, well, I don't know. One of the problems with cops is that when they get in positions of authority, they've tended to work their way up, weasel their way up through the system. And I suppose you got to have guys or gals who've experienced what it's like to be out in the street. For Pete's sake, get some people with some real education in it. You can't have someone bossing the cops around them. Only got a college diploma or something like that. I don't care how much experience.
Well, that's how it happens a lot of the time. I remember when I was going to college, I was looking at the walls of graduates at Olds College, horticulture graduates, and it went back a long time. Olds College has been teaching horticulture for a long time. And then I was going into the work world, and when I got to, like, I had a bad experience with private industry, not all the, like, back in my hometown, the people who own the greenhouse there, I liked them very much. But I'd known them from before I worked there.
You're saying that place is their moving location. That's the greenhouse you're talking about? Okay.
Yeah, they're good people.
I've
and they're very competent.
Many times.
Anyway, but then when I got into the working for the city in Calgary, I was working at the zoo. So a lot of the people there actually had education and stuff like that. They would pick people who had the education to put them in there, right? So it was a bit different. And then when people came in at the end of the season, because we had a longer season at the zoo, and other people out of the zoo would come in, and we got to meet what the real workforce was like, right? But I realized soon, even like in the zoo, the foremen, they had the same sort of education that I did, which I expected more. You know, I expected somehow that getting into the city and a job like that everybody would have the horticulture diploma, and everyone would, you know, so, and then the higher ups would have degrees or something like that, right? But that was not the way it was. And then working in the city outside of the zoo, later on I worked for another municipal government that shall remain nameless, and other ones after that too. So I've worked for
at least 3,
4
right?
different cities.
Oh, 4.
Yes, one not in this province.
Yeah, I know that one.
Okay.
One up north, one down south.
Yeah, and Calgary.
And one in the middle.
Yeah.
Oh, okay.
So anyway, I realized that, whoa, the people that are getting promoted into management positions, many of them don't even have high school diplomas and stuff like that.
Yeah.
And that shouldn't be happening.
9.5
I realize that they want to promote from within, but in order to have people that are actually worthy of the wages that you're giving them in municipal government, you have to hire people that are worthy to have the higher up positions lower down. So at least people with a horticulture diploma working in horticulture as a laborer first, before, because otherwise you just end up with these guys that really don't know anything.
They tend to be guys.
Yeah, but they not necessarily.
Not necessarily.
But they tend to be aggressive personality types.
Oh man.
Generally aggressive rulers.
And not propagandists.
Not propagandists.
Sometimes they're both.
But sometimes they're a mix of both. Yeah, which is worse.
Yeah. It's
really.
You got a guy like Benito Mussolini.
Yeah, or Hitler.
Hitler was a yipper in the opera too. Yeah.
Yeah.
And a failed artist. So.
Yeah. So anyway, it's just it's an interesting world. But
Donald Trump's another one of the idiots.
But then, you know, if you have people, you're thinking, oh, okay, well, they can be really competent and not have the, okay, well, whatever.
I'm really competent,
Sometimes.
and I don't have a lot of paperwork on the walls in the form of degrees. But for a while there, I was stashing away on average of 4 books a day.
Yes, but you value education.
I know.
So if you're promoting in municipal government, and honestly, the one that was out of province that I worked for, the group that I worked for, they were highly educated.
And they
honestly,
were, I can't recall you saying a bad thing about management there.
No, they were very competent.
And we are mentioning the place, are we?
Well, we can.
If you're saying it's good.
I guess if I could say it's good, why not? Winnipeg.
Winnipeg. Thank you,
awesome.
Winnipeg.
So,
I was shocked, you know. Like, Pauline didn't have any complaints. There were a couple of people working with her that were kind of a bit different, but even
whatever.
then,
but even then,
they really weren't in your face or anything.
No, I didn't mind it. I respected everybody that I worked with. So, anyway.
Winnipeg, Manitoba.
Yeah, they did a great job.
Go Bombers and go Jets.
But then, like, I don't know, maybe that was just the group that I worked with. Maybe if I explored other areas outside of that group, then, so I don't know if I can really say so much.
Yeah, well,
but
it's important that
my experience there was a positive one. I really respected the people that I worked for and with. Anyway, but they valued education. And even if the people who end up getting promoted, they may not have the paperwork, but they certainly have the knowledge and they value education. They're getting it on their own or whatever. That may be even better, but
it actually is.
They have to value education, or else whenever somebody comes in who is educated, they're going to get picked on, because the aggressive rulers, they don't want to be showed up by anybody. No. So it's just, the system doesn't work if you put aggressive rulers into management positions, ever. You can never do that in municipal government or in government in general.
Well, I'm going to mention the place. Are you hearing that? Well, I guess this is your, maybe better not.
Whatever.
No, City of Lethbridge. Are you listening to that?
All right, you have 5 minutes to talk about whatever you want, so enjoy.
Okay.
I imagine it'll be politics because you're trying to get Carney elected.
Well, I'm not enthused about him, but when you look at the alternatives, I'm definitely unenthused. So don't vote for Juggernaut Singh. Don't vote for the Grey Party, otherwise known as the Green Party. Because all you're doing is splitting votes away from a party that might do a little bit about the environment, i.e. the Liberal Party. You've got to make sure that the Conservatives, under the boot heel of Pierre Poilievre, or whatever his name is, doesn't get in power. Can't let this happen. He's worse than Stephen Harper, who in turn was worse than Brian Mulroney. Are you listening, Ben Mulroney? Your dad, Brian Mulroney, up to this point in time, was by far the worst, most corrupt, well, criminally corrupt Prime Minister in Canada during my lifetime. It's amazing. He got on, he campaigned back in '84, whenever that was, on a campaign on a platform of criticizing the Liberals for corruption. Trudeau made a few last-minute hires. He should never have done that. I think he was trying to sabotage his successor, John Turner, whom Trudeau didn't care for, and I think the feeling was mutual. That's Pierre Trudeau. But then Brian Mulroney, whatever his name is, Mulroney, I couldn't care less, really. He goes along saying, oh, the corrupt Liberals, and then he gets in and he proceeds to set the record. And apparently that's been documented. The most corrupt administration at least in the 20th century in Canada. Maybe another conservative, John A. Macdonald, some people call him Sir John A. Macdonald, kind of set the record. He was in for a long time. Mulroney was in for way too long. He's never been elected in the first place. A scumbag. They're listening, Ben Mulroney. You should never show your face on TV. Never have your voice appear on radio. The other day he was talking about his dad getting over 50% vote. Was that back in '84? Your dad was a unconvicted felon. The guy who was bribing him, Karl-Heinz Schreiber, was convicted in Germany. I think it was involving Airbus, of bribing Brian Mulroney. And Brian Mulroney was such a creep that he got friends of his in, I believe it was in the RCMP, to let loose the fact that Mulroney was being investigated, and then Mulroney threatened to sue. I don't know if it ever came to a suit. The Canadian government forked over, I believe it was something on the order of $1 million to Brian Mulroney. Here he is, he already was a criminal, never was convicted.
So what, like a defamation lawsuit? Or
I can't remember what it was, but absolutely disgusting. Whoever unleashed that to the press should be convicted if they're still alive. And Ben, if you inherited any of that hush money from your dad, you're living on slush money from your dad. Shame on you, you stupid, weaselly little creep. What station are you on? Your global radio station. What a little creep. What else has to be talked about? Oh yeah, you folks in the United States that are thinking that I knew it would happen. I was mentioning the polling. I don't know if I mentioned it here. You know, when the stock market goes down, I don't know how much it's going to crash. I don't know how much Putin is going to let Trump ruin the American economy, at least right until the end. But if there's a huge crash, when there's a huge crash, the stupid Trump followers will be following the line that, oh, it's the rich guys in the United States who don't like Trump, and that's the vast majority of that, actually. They